here on the Fox Local Streaming Network. We're joined this morning by Virginia Democratic Congressman James Walkinshaw. Congressman, on the broadcast portion of the show, we've been talking about the government shutdown. As we welcome everybody here in on Fox Local, we just kind of want to set some of the basic parameters of where we're at right now. It's day 26 of the shutdown. Is there any hope you can give folks that somehow there could be some breakthrough to really kind of end this?
Yeah, I think what gives me a little bit of hope in this moment is we've seen over the course of the last week, Republicans in Congress starting to have a lot of dialogue internally about needing to address the healthcare cliff that we're facing with the enhanced premium tax credit. So they're discussing amongst themselves what kind of package, potentially changes to the program could get enough Republican support for them to move forward with it. That tells me they're starting to feel the heat from their constituents, just as I hear from my constituents on this issue. So I'm hopeful that they'll take those internal Republican-only conversations and start having some real bipartisan conversations about what it would look like.
Well, that would lead me to the question, if they are talking amongst themselves, they're still not talking to Democrats, and the way an agreement would be worked out potentially would be both sides coming together. So what is it that Democrats would want just beyond the extension of the tax credits themselves? Is the bill itself, the continuing resolution that would appropriate these funds for the operation of the federal government, which already passed through the House of Representatives, would that bill as it currently stands be acceptable to the Democrats beyond the health care portion of this, or are there any other outliers there that could trip this up?
Well, you'll recall early in this process, Democrats put forward their own continuing resolution bill. The House and the Republicans in the House didn't allow a vote on that bill, but it has been voted on in the Senate, and it would address the premium tax credits. It would cancel the $1 trillion cut to Medicaid. Also important for folks in our region, would prevent some of the so-called rescissions that we've seen, or impoundment, where we have the White House outright refusing to spend dollars that Congress has appropriated. That's led to federal workers losing their jobs. So Democrats have put all that on the table. It failed to get 60 votes in the Senate, just like the Republican spending plan failed to get 60 votes in the Senate. So you have two competing plans, Democrat, Republican. Neither have enough support in the Senate. Logical thing to do is sit down and try to work out a compromise between the two. In the House, Republicans aren't even in town to have that kind of discussion.
I want to ask you about that because you occupy an interesting position right now. You just assumed this seat not all that long ago, and here you are. It's not only a government shutdown, for all intents, the House has been shut down as well, too. In fact, we just heard that Speaker Johnson is not going to be bringing the House back. He repeatedly has said that there's nothing for the House to do until the Senate finishes its business. What's that been like? Because you've started your term here as a congressman basically with the House kind of sidelined right now.
So I was sworn in on I was elected on September 9th, sworn in on September 10th, had about 2.5 weeks where the House was in session and we were voting, doing our work. I didn't like all the things we were doing, but we were doing those things. And then the shutdown hit, and Speaker Johnson shut down the House of Representatives as well. So it has been a strange experience. I'll say, Democrats, myself included, it's easier for me than a Democrat from California, but even folks from California have been coming back to the Capitol. We've been having our own meetings. We've been holding our own hearings. We had a hearing last week with a constituent of mine from Springfield who shared how the health care cuts will impact her and her family. So we're sending the signal to the Republicans, we're here, we're at work. We'll welcome you back and look forward to sitting down and negotiating an agreement when you get back.
You don't have to go very far to see the impact of people not getting their paychecks here. It's in your own office. So what's that like amongst the congressional staffers, both in the House and the Senate right now? You've got people up there working who aren't getting paid.
And I'll just note, it's kind of question comes up a lot about members of Congress getting paid during the shutdown, and the Constitution does require that members of Congress get paid. A lot of us, myself included, have voluntarily asked that our pay be withheld, so I won't get a paycheck until the shutdown ends, just like federal workers and the staff in my office, and I was one of those staff members in previous shutdowns who faced that. Yeah. And look, it's a terrible situation for everybody, for our staff in Congress, for federal workers. You know, we're working to share resources and information about what's out there, but the solution is to end this shutdown.
Beyond the impact on the federal workers, though, the general public has been feeling the effects of this as well, too. We've got air traffic controllers that are not drawing paychecks right now. We're getting reports, it's not anecdotal. The Secretary of Transportation, Sean Duffy, says they've had people calling out sick at higher rates. That has affected airline schedules and delays. We have TSA agents who are still on the job, not getting paid. Yeah. And, oh, by the way, the United States military, is affected as this as well. Right. What is the impact of the larger area beyond the federal workforce? But everybody else is going to start to feel this as we're now approaching 30 days and we're about to go into our third month.
Yeah, and this happens in every shutdown. We had the largest shutdown in history in Trump's first term. Each day that passes, the negative impacts cascade and build, and it's harder for the White House and the administration to kind of play whack-a-mole to address the negative impacts. It shows how critical the federal government and its basic functioning are to the country. I think that's a lesson the Trump administration is learning as they spent the last 10 months really decimating the federal government and the federal workforce. But each day that the shutdown drags on, those challenges compound.
Last weekend, there were massive protests across the country, the No Kings movement, both here in Washington and across the country. It's the second such demonstration we saw by this group. Was there impact to that on this process? Will it make a difference, or was that merely a way for people to just hit the streets and voice their frustrations?
Well, I don't.
Does it matter, I guess?
Well, I don't know that it has an impact in the context of the shutdown. Yeah. I do think it is very significant that we saw, in total across the country, one of the largest protests in American history in opposition to Donald Trump's authoritarian tendencies and posture. I think that is very significant, and I think assuming that his policies continue, using the U.S. military in U.S. cities, masked men, abducting at times American citizens, and that's something that Democrats on my committee, the Oversight Committee, are investigating. 120 U.S. citizens have been detained by ICE. We need a lot of answers about why that's taking place. If those policies and actions continue, you'll see these protest movements, and we had 6 to 7 million people at this No Kings rally. I think those will continue to grow.
You're a member of the House Oversight Committee. There's been a lot of discussion in this city over the past couple of days about the East Wing of the White House. The president had originally announced this project for the ballroom and then said it wouldn't touch the East Wing. The East Wing is now gone. It's been completely demolished. What role, what questions does the House Oversight Committee have about that, or can they have any questions about this? It's the executive mansion. It's where the president resides. It tends to be in the purview of the president over how the White House is handled.
Well, one, I think we all need to be highlighting the kind of context in which this takes place. We have a series of crises in this country. Inflation is on the rise. Grocery prices are skyrocketing, right? Coffee up 18 to 19%. Ground beef prices rising. The shutdown, the healthcare crisis in Cliff, and we have the White House saying President Trump's priority is building the ballroom. And I think that's a misplaced priority. In terms of what questions Congress should be asking, we have to ensure that the law was followed as it exists. Clearly, I think one of the lessons from this is that the law needs to be strengthened in terms of oversight and approval for this kind of demolition or project. I also have a lot of questions about the funding. And, it's privately funded according to President Trump, and we have a series of corporations and individuals who contributed money. I think it's inappropriate. It creates at least the appearance of corruption, probably outright corruption, that people are buying access and influence to President Trump via this ballroom, which is his top priority.
Is this a situation where you look at this list, it's some of the biggest companies on the planet in some cases, that they are doing this in a way to protect themselves for the administration, or is this a situation where they're trying to buy influence? And is there any difference between the two of those things?
Yeah, I mean, there was reporting today that one of the donors said, look, this was a priority for President Trump, and it was an easy way for us to make him happy with us. I think that's what we're seeing. But for the American people, look, it has to be very frustrating when we see grocery prices rising. They can't afford to buy groceries. He promised to bring them down. Healthcare prices skyrocketing. Government shut down, air travel impacted, all kinds of functions impacted that are hurting Americans. And the president's priority is a gold-flecked ballroom.
That is not the only thing the president is looking at right now. There have been reports that the president is looking for a $230 million settlement from the Justice Department, springing from these investigations and these cases that were brought against him.
Yeah.
What questions do you have about whether or not a sitting president of the United States, who is in effect running the Justice Department, talking about a cash settlement for an investigation in a case, an indictment that was brought against that same president?
I don't even have questions about it. It is outright corruption. It is absolutely wrong. There is no rational justification. There is no reason for it. Those conversations shouldn't be taking place, and the United States taxpayers should not be paying Donald Trump or his family a single dime.
But we've seen just in the past couple of days that same Justice Department brought an indictment against Tisha James. We've seen an indictment against James Comey, against John Bolton. What do you see when you look at the Justice Department right now about where these moves are going and why?
Well, clearly we're seeing the politicization of the Justice Department and a complete breakdown of the wall that has existed between the White House and the Justice Department, at least in the modern era. And Donald Trump wants to use the Justice Department to punish his political enemies or his perceived political enemies.
He is Congressman James Walkinshaw from the great Commonwealth of Virginia, joining us here on Fox Local this morning as we continued our On the Hill conversation. Congressman, we thank you for your extra innings with us this morning. Appreciate it. We appreciate you as well. We're going to take a quick break here on Fox Local. We'll be right back after this.
Looking for big savings on a new